Diddy collapses when FBI agent reveals what they found in. Viewer guidance is advised. The following content is intended purely for informational and entertainment purposes. It all began when an FBI agent revealed the contents of a hidden safe belonging to Diddy, also known as Sean Combs. What was found shocked the entire courtroom and led to Diddy collapsing in front of everyone. Throughout the trial, Diddy had managed to stay composed. But that moment changed everything. Special Agent Marcus Reynolds took the stand and described in detail what they had uncovered inside a concealed vault located behind a false wall in Diddy's Miami mansion. The room went silent, filled with tension. When Reynolds started listing the items recovered, even the judge paused in disbelief. Diddy slumped forward, his body going limp. The courtroom staff rushed to his side, and the session was temporarily paused. Once he was stabilized, proceedings resumed, and the gravity of what was discovered started to unravel. The hidden safe was expertly built, accessible only through a secret pressure point system in a bookshelf. Inside were dozens of items, each more shocking than the last. The first piece of evidence was a handwritten ledger documenting over 15 years of payment records, many of which matched large unexplained cash withdrawals. Analysts concluded it likely detailed hush money paid to silence individuals posing a threat to Diddy's image or operations. USB drives were also recovered, each labeled with initials and dates. The drives contained audio and video recordings of celebrities, executives, and public figures in vulnerable or compromising situations, many of whom were unaware they were being recorded. The agent explained that several of the recordings seemed to be staged deliberately, capturing people engaging in behavior that could later be used for control or blackmail. These drives were referenced in printed emails and messages recovered from the same safe. The conversations clearly showed that these recordings were used strategically, typically during business negotiations or disputes. In one example, a message hinted at a video clip, which led to an immediate shift in business decisions, favoring Diddy. As the evidence piled up, it became clear this wasn't random. It was a systematic operation. Handwritten journals were also found, spanning years. In them, Diddy detailed how to trap young artists into contracts by first earning their trust, then capturing compromising material to ensure loyalty. One entry specifically mentioned a rising artist being handled over a weekend to gather leverage before renegotiating royalties. More items included lists of law enforcement and judicial figures, each with notes about their vulnerabilities and corresponding financial records suggesting payoffs. This suggested Diddy's influence may have extended deep into the justice system itself. Agent Reynolds also presented surveillance binders, filled with transcripts from secretly recorded calls and meetings. Each page had handwritten annotations marking who had been neutralized, who was under pressure, and who was targeted next. A pattern emerged of ongoing manipulation and surveillance, planned and executed with precision. The safe also held a phone used solely for managing these operations, along with communications between individuals handling surveillance, conflict resolution, and financial tasks. Records showed coordinated efforts to not only gather leverage but also to protect Diddy's empire from any threats, internal or external. Next came documents labeled crisis protocols, which outlined procedures when someone threatened to expose Diddy's activities. The steps included financial offers, then blackmail, and finally character destruction. Case files on 7 individuals showed these tactics in use, including planting negative stories in the media or using private information to ruin reputations. One document stood out among the rest, titled Extreme Measures. It described how to target people using anonymous police tips, financial sabotage, and attacks on personal relationships when traditional pressure methods failed. The court was told that at least 3 people had already experienced these exact steps. Perhaps the most chilling evidence was a voice recording of Diddy himself. In it, he clearly explained his philosophy. Money isn't power, information is. He spoke of how secrets and blackmail had kept him in control for 2 decades. This recording removed all doubts. The man once seen as a business genius admitted using fear and manipulation as his primary tools. At this point, Diddy collapsed again. The court called a second recess, but the damage was already done. Then came the final pieces of evidence, stored in a smaller safe within the main one. This section contained materials related to the 1999 nightclub shooting, for which another man, Shine, had gone to prison. There was a written confession from Diddy himself, contradicting his public statements at the time. Also found was previously missing surveillance footage from the night of the shooting and secret recordings of witnesses being instructed on what to say. Another recording captured Diddy discussing how to ensure Shine took the blame, including promises, threats, and plans to elevate his career afterward. This confirmed Diddy's direct involvement and an intentional conspiracy to evade justice. Following this, prosecutors began proceedings to vacate Shine's conviction, and Diddy's defense team, unable to refute the overwhelming evidence, requested a plea deal. The agreement included guilty pleas to racketeering, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice, with an 18 to 25-year sentence recommended. In return, Diddy agreed to assist investigators in exposing others who participated in similar activities. As news broke, panic spread across the industry. Artists distanced themselves. Labels announced internal reviews. Lawsuits piled up. Even legal analysts began discussing possible RICO charges against others linked to Diddy's operation. When Diddy returned to court for sentencing, he looked defeated, physically and emotionally drained. The judge called his actions a systematic abuse of power that destroyed countless lives and sentenced him to 22 years in federal prison. As he was led away in handcuffs, the man once seen as a mogul had been unmasked. The secrets he locked away became the very tools of his downfall. And the industry, shaken to its core, braced itself for the next wave of revelations.